time to come here. I know it's very warm and post-lunch nap energy, but I appreciate you joining. I'm gonna wake you up. So this is a workshop that I'm not actually used to do this format of workshops, but I think it's very good, especially because it's like probably the last workshop ever done that before like the closing of the event. So the title is very long. Deploy or de-escalate AI safeguards of human security in modern warfare. So we both know that deploying or trying our best as activists and researchers and journalists to make sure AI and tech is not deployed for warfare and modern warfare and conflict and genocide. But it's also very important to contribute some efforts in the de-escalation process, okay? And that's what I'm going to focus on now. And before we go any further, just a couple of terms. That is why I mentioned the deploying and not deploying is more a binary 1-0 action, while de-escalating is more about risk mitigation, about making sure that the AI and tech used in the military is not proliferated, etc. By AI safeguards, we're going to see more than one category, but not all of the categories of AI safeguards, because we only have a few, like 1 hour. Human security, this is of course human security, so we can be talking about civilian people, civilian objects, the environment that is affected by tech-facilitated weapons and AI weapon systems. So try to like broaden, try not to like just take the terms as very concrete as they are. Maybe be open in interpreting any terms that you see, including modern warfare, because especially the term warfare. Actually, we were discussing this in one of the sessions about how it's unfortunate that we, because of the limited words of the proposals, we have to combine the genocide, the conflict, the armed conflict, the civil wars, all of it in one term, which is warfare. So I completely understand, and I encourage you to interpret it in a much, much broader landscape. So these are the terms and the conditions. Of course, try to be open, try to be patient with me, and engaged and curious, because this is how I want to post rather than, to be honest. And before we go any further, I want to introduce myself. So I'm Sarra Hannachi. I'm from Tunisia, tiny little country in North Africa. And you're going to see this name a lot because actually there's an actress in Tunisia with my exact name and last name. So when you Google me, please just, and I'm not her, she's not me. So, who am I? I'm a fellow at the Mozilla Foundation, a nonprofit that works on tech governance and responsible AI development, use, and deployment. I'm also a member of the Coalition of Independent Tech Research, which is more of a community of practice of researchers that is based in Berlin. I'm also a Youth Advisory Board member at the EU Youth Voices Lab, which is an initiative coordinated by the African Union and European Union that provides funding and mentorship to youth-led organizations. There are a few eligible countries, 14 African countries and Belgium. But if, for example, you have a partner that is in that eligible country, keep an eye on their socials and stuff in 2026 in case there's calls for proposals and projects and providing funding. And soon I'm going to be a podcast host, or a so-called podcast host, because next month I'm launching, as part of my Mozilla Fellowship, a podcast that is called Security Unwired, and we'll be tackling AI and tech applications and implications in warfare, and border security, something I've worked on a lot, and humanitarian action as well. I've never done podcasts before, so feel free to tell me, Sarah, it's horrible. It's totally okay. I'm just trying things because I think us in this field, we cannot know what we're good at or not good at unless we actually try something. I had to learn that the hard way through skiing after falling 100 times. So yeah, aside from the boring stuff, I love hiking, and in case you haven't noticed, humor is my coping mechanism. It helps me because all of us are working in really tough contexts and really difficult emotionally and mentally context, and I don't know, humor has helped with me in my work. So the main session elements are first quick intro, And then we're going to be delivering a keynote, won't be too long, I promise. And then a group exercise, which is ideal given like the number is very convenient of the participant. And then more of a synthesis and a conclusion of what we're going to have from this, what I'd like to call a reflective workshop. So I want to know first who is in the room or house, and like feel free to like self-identify differently, but like I'm just going to be giving some labels, as in like who's a journalist, for example, if you could raise your hand. Okay. And I know we wear a lot of hats, but more tell me what's your like your primary activity. Who's a researcher? Okay. Who's a digital rights activist? Okay. Who's a lawyer? All right. That's scary people. I love lawyers. I learn a lot from them. Have I missed something? I think I probably have. Tech people, yeah, of course, yeah. Who's tech? Cool. Amazing. Okay, and just one more thing. Who's in like policy and governance directly? Okay, cool. And who's other?
Education.
Okay, nice. And you? Feminist and Ministry of Justice activist. Okay, cool. By education academia or education in general?
No,
Amazing. Okay. Nice meeting you all. So, this is about what we can do today until we manage to achieve all of that. Complete ban on lethal autonomous weapon systems, having real-time assessments of technologies and their mechanisms, dismantling all military AI and tech, global arms embargo. These are like really amazing, beautiful goals. Robust legal frameworks for AI liability, AI non-proliferation, and evaluation metrics that are globally binding for any users in the military for safety standards, and independent international compliance and enforcement bodies in every military unit around the world. So these are things we're all working towards, but also like to completely not deploy AI in the military, but also what can we do today until hopefully we achieve all of these things. This is something I want us to like go through today together. And the key safeguards I want to go through with you. Like I said, I'm limiting them just because of the time, but there's a bunch. So briefly gonna go through a few technical safeguards of AI in military use, regulatory ones, legal, ethical, and operational. By operational, I mean military operational. Is it good so far?
Yeah.
Yeah? Amazing. Okay, so for the technical, these are the three phases I really want to, like the big, not some phases, big phases I want to focus on. So technical safeguards by design, technical safeguards in the use, and technical safeguards in the evaluation process. Let's start by design, okay? So when we're designing tech or AI that unfortunately is being traded and used in military and in modern warfare, we start with a secure architecture, because the architecture of an AI model is what makes sure that later on, whether if it's ethical, whether if it's biased, whether if it's secure in terms of data protection and privacy, all of this is actually secured. If it's not secured in the architecture, it's not going to be secured in any of the outputs of the model, okay? And to do that, so we have data integrity, everything related to data protocols. I know, unfortunately, we see that some of the policies out there, regulations, they tackle data privacy and protection, and like the GDPR and other ones, in all the sectors, except for the security sector, except for protecting migrants and refugees, except for protecting civilians. So these are loopholes that are, unfortunately, systemically not like existing as loopholes in these regulations in order to provide these actors with the, let's say, the possibility to escape accountability, okay? And that's something we need to work on from the roots of data integrity. And ethical constraints. I know I said I'm going to be talking later on about like the ethical safeguards, but think of ethics as like ethical constraints in the design phase. It's just a tiny segment in all of the ethical safeguards, okay? So when we're talking ethics, it could be related to whether or not to engage with force, whether or not to not consider the casualties and the amplification for a significant security threat, etc. But when it comes to this architecture of the AI model, when we talk about ethics, it's about the technologists, the tech people. We need to embed these safeguards in the tech people in the design phase before we embed the ethics in the people that press the button. Okay, so this is why I really think that the design phase is one of the most crucial ones. It's not going to save the world, but it's definitely going to help like later on. And that, all of it together, is going to wrap up with red teaming and testing. So for whoever is not familiar with red teaming, it's an approach that I really believe in, honestly. I think it's basically having the developers of an AI model in the military or in the tech company that is providing the models for the military or defense force. They predict the scenarios of what an AI model, how an AI model can misbehave or how it can be misused or like dual use, so misbehaving as a technology or being misused by the actual humans. So these are two scenarios in which there are lots of sub-scenarios. So what the red team does here is basically they predict these scenarios and they do it themselves. They test the model themselves. They sometimes infiltrate inside the data bias in order to see how the model is going to react. Is it going to detect that anomaly, or is it going to be like, oh no, I'm taking that as a standard and I'm going to normalize it in my model. It could be even racial discrimination, ethnic discrimination based on the data. So red teaming and testing is very, very important. And the problem is that a lot of people skip this phase just because, they think, oh, we have the best tech people, we have, the giants of the giants, they know what they're doing. But no, that is not the case. Most probably never. Okay, in the use, so when you're using AI, you're going to have to base it on policies and frameworks, right? And unfortunately, that's inexistent in the military uses. But also, how are we going to implement them? We're going to implement them with operational limits. So what is my limit? What is a red line and what is not? Okay, that's a question that unfortunately is not being asked enough because of the legitimization of using tech in warfare. We're saving ourselves, it's for self-defense, etc., etc. So operational limits can only exist or be embedded in the use of technology and AI in military if we have the right AI policies and frameworks. Same thing for real-time monitoring. So this is also another safeguard that I think is very important. We only sometimes look at the consequences after the damage has been done, and that's useless, So you have to monitor in real time the applications of a model. See in real time if the target has killed how many civilians, etc. Also real-time monitoring in terms of data breaches and cybersecurity. That's also something that's very important because in military, they tend to use open source intelligence as the #1 source of, tackling security threats. But open source intelligence is just a pretty name to say stealing data. So yes, and in order to do all of this, we have to do it live, okay? And to do it live, we need human oversight because you cannot monitor something that is operating simultaneously with another technology, You need human oversight, you need human in the loop to do the real-time monitoring and assessment of the AI while it's being applied. Again, I'm saying that this session is not about dismantling the tech like this with snapping our fingers, but it's about making sure we mitigate the risk, making sure that we try our best to protect civilians in the process. All of this is going to lead to escalation protocols. Okay, so if a human actually sees in real time, they see the impact that technology has made, they see the bias, they see the dysfunctional or failure of a model that has led to a catastrophic event, whether against civilians or against the environment, etc., then this is going to lead to escalation protocols because once there is real-time assessment, they will be binded to share the reports of what has been derived from that real-time assessment, which is we're going to tackle in the evaluation. So audit and verification must be independent. This is something that we dream of, okay? but I think that embedding it at least in the first level, so we're talking tech companies before the actual military units, right? So if you embed the audit and verification legally in the tech companies, it's going to make it a little bit easier to also implement it when it's used in the military. So when you do the audit and verification before the technology is being traded, you can have performance logs, you can have evaluation metrics, and you can have incident reporting, which is related to the escalation protocols we're talking about. All of these are not only evidence for the future in case there was a legal breach of any human rights laws or any humanitarian laws, but also to make sure that this cannot be normalized in any other country that is using warfare. Because the problem is that if we don't have any of these, the other states are going to be like, oh, state X did that, so I can do that too, in the name of self-defense, in the name of protecting, national security. The problem is normalization, and that makes the system rugged, okay? All of this is going to help in updating the system. Let's see what's wrong with the system. Let's update it. Let's see what are the reforms that are necessary to make it in the design, in the use, and the evaluation, and in the architecture, hence redesigning. So what I want to conclude basically is that we're going to go back to the design phase, and all of this is actually a loop. It's not a process, okay? It's a loop. You cannot stop it. You cannot say, oh, in 5 years I'm going to make sure AI is safe. It does not stop, okay? Because AI is faster than us, and it has to be a continuous loop. Clear? Okay. For sure, I'll be leaving some space later on for feedback and questions. When it comes to regulations, okay, so regulations basically are what we need in the phase before the policies and frameworks can be used. You can't expect a military official to use AI and then hold them accountable if you don't have the regulations already, proven with technical evidence that they work, especially in other states. So like, hey, see, this policy has been embedded in state X, and they have been doing this, and it has been reducing bias, etc., etc. So please embed this in your task force as well. You can't expect them to do that unless you actually have the regulation internationally recognized, unfortunately. Okay, for the legal. I'm not going to spend too much time on these because I know the law people are the best for this, but when it comes to international humanitarian law and human rights law, it's going to help in civilian protection, right? So we're talking civilian people, civilian objects, etc. Transparency and audit laws for justice and due process, because it's been so difficult to get access to the information about how the model is operating, whether or not the intelligence gathered is like really just open source intelligence, or it's actually data from big tech companies and data that is stolen, and also it's going to help in ensuring justice, basically. Exports and arms control frameworks. This is going to help with non-proliferation. We've had it with the International Treaty for Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, for example. I truly think that it's possible also to do the same for AI. The problem is, who's going to sign the treaty? And how do we convince them or pressure them? Because it's no longer about convincing. We've seen a lot of states, including Israel, that they just act like they run the world. But it's about putting international pressures on all states to embed these arms control frameworks, because it's not about convincing anymore. And then for the ethical, I'm not also going to be spending a lot of time on this because I'm not here to teach you what ethics is. I think ethics either exists or it doesn't. You can open someone's eye, you can raise awareness about a particular cause, but either it exists or it doesn't. However, my advice to everyone, no matter your function, no matter what your focus is to engage slightly more with the people that are developing the technologies for the military and for defense sectors, and try to talk to them, see their reasoning. Why are they so committed to developing tech for military? And give them counterexamples and give them solutions from a legal perspective if you're a lawyer, from a technical perspective if you yourself are an AI developer. So I think ethics is also binary. Maybe that's just my opinion, but you can always, based on your expertise, influence to what extent a military official, to what extent an AI developer can go with their ethics, okay? Because after all, for example, with the incident reporting, it doesn't always have to be reported by high-level senior officials in the military. Sometimes incidents in AI bias and misuse has been reported by low-level officials, not necessarily senior. So we can always convince someone to change their perspective. For the operational or the military operations regarding AI safeguards. So rules of engagement or ROE basically are happening in reforms of modern warfare. So when you talk rules of engagement, as in, like I said earlier, what is a red line, what is not? Do you have to assess how many people are in the zone? Is it a safe zone? Like, is it recognized internationally as a safe zone or not? Does it have humanitarian? Does it have humanitarian protection or not? These are rules that internally decided in the military, but I think that they require a lot of revision. That's the problem, is that the problem with today's military action is that it's evolving in tech uses and application, but it's not evolving in the thinking, in the design. It's still really backwards. Like, we're just thinking, oh, there's one security threat, then that justifies everything. And the securitization framework has always been embedded in lots of wars in the past. And it's something I'm doing currently research on, and yeah, I don't know if I'll change one in the ROEs, but yeah, we'll see. Legal advisors in decision loops. So this is a safeguard that you cannot guarantee because legal advisors in the military are usually also internal legal counsels. But I think that they, in case of like absence of ethics, I think sometimes military units, they use the legal aspect to protect themselves instead of the ethics, and that is why they use legal advisors in their like decision-making process. Hence, for the lawyers out there, talk to your lawyers, make sure that they also understand what AI safeguards means. I think we cannot change one person's or one senior official's mind and then expect everything to change. There's a lot of actors involved, technologists, lawyers, ethicists, and all of them have to contribute. And finally, or no, there's another one. Post-operation accountability, such as the incident reports that help in evaluation and system updating, and dual key engagement. This one, I think, honestly, it's very important. Having more than one final decision maker is very important, okay? Because this is about civilian life, this is about life or death, this is about the breaches of international humanitarian law, so it's important to always have a second, if not a third, if not a fourth opinion before making any final decision. Hence, the multi-layer authorization process and approval process that can at least either one, slow down, or like I said, de-escalate the impact or the horrible impact of AI in warfare, or it can actually completely stop it just because more than one person saw that it should not be implemented. And finally, military tech manual override. This is very important to abort missions in cases of failure. And this is related to the autonomy of some of the AI models that are being implemented. It's important for any developers that are working in the military to consider designing the technology in a way where there is a stop button that is easily accessible for a non-tech military official, and that is easily manually overrode? No. Okay, so I want to see the time. Yeah, we have enough time. Okay, so that was just a brief, I hope brief keynote to put you in the context, to share my personal findings and my research so far, and also to make sure that all of the aspects of AI safeguards in the military are targeted. And now what I want to do basically is to have you share your own perceptions of AI safeguards through this group exercise. And we're going to try to do it a little bit in a fun way, in a light way. I don't want it to be boring and then progressive. Okay, hi. So, whenever you need me to go back to the keynote slides, I will go back. But before we go any further, do you know this game? Yes. Okay. Who? Raise your hands if you do know it. Okay, raise your hands if you don't know it. Okay, just for people like me. Okay. So Cards Against Humanity is, it says, a party game for horrible people. Okay, so it's basically a game where people get phrases or prompts with missing elements in it, and you'd have to fill that gap with the most dark, humor, funny elements in order to make it, the funniest prompt in all of the cards. And yeah, it's I've won a lot. This is how good I am at dark humor. But I want us to play Cards Against Inhumanity. Okay, it's a Bread workshop for not so bad people, if you're interested. All right, so the concept is of this exercise is I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of prompts, which I have in my bag. And these prompts are they're diverse, but still I want you to fill the gap according to what you as a person, as an expert in that specific field can do, etc. It's going also to raise some concerns about the risks when it comes to, but first concerns with the military AI safeguards for humanity, and concerns of restricted options of how, to what extent can we actually do this, what are the risks, what are the limitations that for me as, I don't know, as a journalist to do this or to contribute even to this, and some reflections, okay? It's very easy. I'm going to give you in groups a deck of cards for the Cards Against Inhumanity. And then you grab your card in row, and then you introduce yourself, of course, briefly, what's your name, where you're from, what you do. It's optional if you don't want to disclose that. And then you fill in the gap of the card that you will receive according to your own opinion, but you have to explain why. Because there are so many options to fill, but then why exactly that particular action, or why is it more personal to you? And finally, maybe after all of this is done, you can, or at the same time, reflect the respective risk. What may stop you from implementing the specific safeguard or the specific action that can help in reducing harm in AI use in the military or de-escalating it? And there's just one rule, I think. Yeah. If you know more than 2 to 3 people in the group, you just have to change the group. Okay? All right. No wrong answers except, it's complicated, depends, it's not feasible. I hate these words. Yeah. Don't say them. Just be open, try to reflect. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Like I said, it's more of a reflective workshop, and I want you to learn a lot from the other people's expertise as well, from their point of views. Maybe they would do something differently from you, etc. And then we will do the synthesis. So in terms of groups, I just want to count how many people were here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No takeaway will be all.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. We can do groups of 6 or wait. Yes, two groups of let's do groups of 5 and then 3 I will join you. Okay?
As in groups of
5 people. 5 people.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 5 people, and I'll be giving you 10 prompts, okay? Even if you don't manage, because we only have around, I think, 20 or 25 minutes, even if you don't manage to do all of the cards, it's okay. It's about getting to know each other, having new perspectives, and getting some steam up before we leave the table, unfortunately. Okay, so if it's easier for placement, maybe it's just collectively 5, 5, 5, but then again, I think you two who knows each other, you have to be in a different group, just so that you, Okay. I will help you. Try to be close to the table. Oh, yeah, that's important. So we have, okay, fine. Okay, then 6 So some self-production while I distribute the non-nuclear, non-proliferation, environmental security council in the last year.
Now that we're trying to only 5%.
This is the hardest.
Oh, but this is something that we need to figure out ourselves.
So I think
Do we each take a card from here? 1 second, I'll cover. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, let me, I'll give you the time first to introduce yourselves in a second. So, okay, so you have the card deck in front of you. What's going to happen is actually, let's start with one person that's always holding the deck and distributing one by one, not all at the same time. The person that has the card will read their prompt, their missing gaps, and of course introduce yourself, your expertise, and then try to fill the gaps with anything that you can. And then afterwards, I'll be distributing some charts where you can actually write the prompt that once everyone agrees on, because you should be kind of giving a justification why you chose to put those elements in the gaps, justifying why that connects to you personally and professionally. I think that's also important because most of us are here very passionate about what we do, and that's very, very nice. And once you do, what you're going to do, or in any shape or form you prefer, is that split this vertically, and left is the prompts that you'll be writing together, and then right is the limitations and risks that may or may not affect how effective and efficient the actual safeguards and the actions can be. Okay? And then these outputs will serve together. Like, I will definitely be reporting all of this with the help of my note taker, and potentially sharing it with all of you as well. Be open, be curious, and yeah, have fun most importantly. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. One by one. And then explain why maybe someone doesn't read, maybe someone requests just something different. And then once everyone agrees on that, it's like, oh my god, okay, let's see. Everyone good? Yes, of course. Yes, try. I have yeah, accountability.